I can find it.
Don't
Well,
worry about it now. It's okay. Carry on.
I got it right here. So this is the registration, which will get you reminders. Um, and then this is the Zoom link. All right. Welcome, everybody. So, yeah, we're getting started again here. Miracle Moments on Wednesday. And, this has been an ongoing call while we study this book, Course in Miracles, for anybody that is new here. All right, let me let some people in. And the goal of this call is really for us to remember our highest self. Our goal is to connect to Source, connect to God, whatever you want to call God. We just want to reestablish that connection. We want to remember that every day that connection is happening, whether you are aware of it or not. I was just having a talk with a friend last night, and she was like, she she would recommend me books, and I probably could be more excited about them, but because I love A Course in Miracles so much, is I don't know, it's just kind of hard to get excited about a lot of books because everything else is talking about how to succeed and work around the things that are in the illusion that the course calls it, right? So I'm kind of like, yeah, they're great, but I want to be more. I'm not that I'm chasing, but my passion and my study is in like what's beyond. What's beyond the physical, what's beyond this world, and how do we access that and bring that peace to everyday life. So that's what the course does. The course invites us to the peace of God by giving things over. So she was like, well, when I see things and learn about energies, I want to be able to control them. And I was like, interesting, because the course would say you wouldn't know what to do with them even if you could control them, right? We think there are positive and negative things for ourselves, and if we can manipulate the energies to have those things happen, the course is like, well, you don't really even know what's the best thing for you, right? For me, I would think, oh man, what would be awesome, and I would have positive energy and all the great things if I was able to close this deal that I'm stuck with, that I'm stuck on right now. I'm invested a lot of money in there. I don't know if we can close it. Obviously, I'm like, man, please, let's get this done. But I don't even know if that's in my own best interest. That's what the course is saying. So the best thing that we can do if we want to find peace in our life is to allow the frequencies to happen, and not judge it, right? Not have any idea really, is that good for me or is that bad? But let me just experience through it. Let me be present in the moment and experience through it, right? So that was an interesting conversation we had about energies and, how do we use it? I think it's fine to be aware of it, but trying to manipulate it is what the course says we drive ourselves into madness, right? Because we think, especially if we're giving the attention and trying to manipulate it through what the course says illusions of this world, which is all the physical material things, right? We can't just be when we're chasing those. So the question is constantly, how do we feel that level of peace and trust in the midst of all the things in life that's always tempting us and pulling us in all the different directions, all the relationships and the investments and the pains, the struggles, the conflicts. Like in the midst of all of that, where do we find peace? So, Jill, go ahead.
I love your Course in Miracles. I've gone to loads of them over the years, and I love your perspective. I've often, I've had various discussions over the years with people, and I think that sometimes the most difficult things that are presented to us are our best teachers. So the things that we are in most resistance to are oftentimes the things that we can get if we can be present and also non-judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
and accept and allow whatever it is, as heinous as it may be, as uncomfortable as it may be. In a way, sometimes that is our best teacher. And do we know whether that we are in a particular situation for ourselves or for a greater purpose? So, for example, I know a man who was put into prison erroneously for something that's completely not true. He's a spectacular person, human being, and he was put into prison for something that is all trumped up, all fake charges, everything, for 10 years.
Wow.
The person who can do probably more benefit in the prison system just by his presence than anyone else. So he, in a way, that's obviously a huge lesson. But we don't know why we are in a particular situation, because maybe it really doesn't have much to do with ourselves, except for, like you say, how we can be present and okay with it all, absolutely okay with it all.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole lesson in life, is to be happy regardless of whatever barbs are are thrown at you. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and the course always gives us our great example, which is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And on the cross, the first thing he said was, "Forgive them, Father; they know not what they do." And so it carries on in the same way. But I love your perspective, Alex. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so
I'm
much.
so happy that you're here. You are such an important person in the journey of my life. So it means a lot that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
so a couple more things. Uh, Last week, actually, speaking first on what you were just sharing, Jill, is the triggers that we have. How do we deal with those things? Like we usually project it onto other people when we have those triggers. We don't look at it from a perspective of how's it going to heal me? What does it mean for me? Even if we can intellectually understand that the triggers are our teachers, we can say that all day. But when we're in the act of it, we're unaware, right? So I was listening to a talk yesterday by Alex Hormozy, and he's talking about business. He's like, we all know how to win, right? You may think you may not know how to win, just like the course says, how to return to God. You know how to find peace in this moment. But the way we do it is it's inversion, is what Alex calls it. Right? Alex Hormozy called it inverting. And the course also says that upside down thinking. Okay, so what you would do is, if you want to be super successful and if you want to know the one thing of how to get to where you want to go, you would go and list all the things that would have you be a loser. If you want to be a winner, right, you would say, okay, what would I need to do now to be a loser? Not follow up, sleep late, not work out, whatever those things are, drugs, I don't know, drinking. So the more you can narrow it down, if you can just narrow it down to one thing, what would be the one thing that would make me a loser right now? And that specific thing inverted is probably your North Star to being a winner. And it's the same thing in the course. If you want peace, do you truly want peace? What would have you not have peace? And life shows that to you. People show that to you. You get triggered. That one thing right there is for you. It's a gift for you. And you invert that, you put that upside down. Healing that, forgiveness through that, working through that, shifting your perception, having a miracle around that is what it takes to find peace, to find happiness. And that's what the course is saying. Wow. Now, can we look forward to that? I was sharing on the previous calls that I look forward now to the next time that my wife and I get into an argument. Because I'm excited. I'm like, I got these tools You know, and I'm remembering through these calls that we have that one, that fight or whatever the argument, whatever may come up that she can try to trigger me, that's my moment of test. Right? It's like, okay, it's test time. We've been studying, it's test time. So I'm looking forward to it because I'm prepared. Right? But if you're unprepared for the test, then you're not really looking forward to that. Right? And the other part of it is we talked about last week and the week before that what if during arguments people fought to see who would win at being more loving instead of being more right? Right? Would you rather have love or would you rather be right? That's the question for you. That's the question for each one of us from moment to moment. Would you rather have love and be happy and have peace, or would you rather be right? And if you say it that way, obviously it sounds like, wow, that's dumb. But try to say that in the midst of your next argument or when you're angry and you're in your feelings. Try to say that to yourself. Would I rather have happiness and peace or would I want to be right? And just notice how you're actually committed to being right, you know? And then you can begin to laugh at that. So I hope that we get a chance to laugh the next time we get into these types of conflicts with ourselves or with others. All right, go ahead, Jill. You want to add something?
Always. Thank you, Alex. So I love what you talk about. And I say always they're your best teachers. Now, one thing you said was you have all these tools and be prepared. However, when those barbs happen, sometimes we don't think in our toolbox. We don't go to our toolbox. So that's the thing is to immediately go to the toolbox and to know that you've got that, because sometimes when you get into those tiffs, you have a knee-jerk reaction, and that's the thing, catching that before the knee jerks. And I found over doing the course that it's a gradual. Like at first it happens immediately, and then there's a second delay, and then maybe there's a 2-second delay, or and it's a gradual lowering of that threshold. And the other thing is you have to have two people who are committed to it at the same time, what you're talking about. So you and love have that commitment with each other, but if the partner is not committed at that same moment, then you're doing it on your own. But the who can do more kind of thing. You've got to have two in that thing going on.
So yes, but this is where the split mind of the ego happens, right? We need both of us to do it. And the course is like, there's nobody else there. It's just you and you, right? If you heal it, if you can use and be in that moment, access so much forgiveness and clarity, it doesn't matter what the other person is saying or doing. And if we do believe that we are one and there is a frequency that connects all of us, which science even proves that there is now, that means all I have to do is if I find peace, that means it's also connected that way. It does not matter what she's saying or what she's doing right now, right? And that's what the Course is saying. We have to continue to remember that nothing is separate. All of our problems comes from the idea that there is separation, that the government has to do this, the other country has to do this, that everyone needs to participate. See, we in a very strategic way, the ego is throwing that blame back onto somebody else, even though you're like, yes, I will take partial. See, the ego is smart. The ego's like, yes, take partial, as long as you still believe there's two. Then you can take 99%. As long as you still believe there's two, that creates that will begin. That's the tiny mad idea right there. 99.99999, I take all of that responsibility. But you know what? There is got to be a 0.0001 where she's got to come and do this, right? And just that itself. Because there is no order of difficulty. There is no quantity in the energy exchange, because there's just one. The moment you think there's any split off of one, it is now separated. And every one of our problems, every worry, comes from the idea that somehow we are separated. And because we're separated, I can't trust you. I can't trust you. So then it's me on my own. And the more the ego will give you, and this world will give you chances to see that. You can't trust this person. You can't trust that government. You can't trust this company. And each time that we are hurt, instead of looking at the hurt as a tool to help us remember, we use it to now reinforce the separation, to isolate ourselves, to build a castle and build a wall around the world, right? Build that barrier, boundaries, whatever we want to call them, right? It's all for separation. As long as you have the smallest tiny mad idea, it is equally disturbing to your mind as the biggest thing you can think of. So, yeah. Okay. And then what we talked about last week, in the last 2 weeks, which has been awesome, is we're talking about choosing love, right? Choosing love over fear. This is the conversation we're having right now. And we related it back to something more relevant as choosing like salad over junk food or salad over French fries. Okay. For anyone that knows me really well, knows my nickname back in the day was Potato because of how much French fries I used to eat. So, who ate salad? For those of you guys that made it on this call, who chose a good meal, a healthy meal over something unhealthy from our call last week? Remember, we were like, just one. Yes, Michelle did it. I also did it. I ate salad. You guys saw that. I went and took a picture of the salad. Look, everybody did that.
Right here too.
Yeah, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
right here.
Boom. Okay, so that is basically choosing love. We know that it's better for us long term. We know we feel better, but in those moments we just get so, oh my God, French fries. You said French fries. Okay, just one last time. I'll start working out. I'll go to the gym. I'll run afterwards. And that's the choosing fear also, choosing anger and judging other people. We're reinforcing something. And science even shows the more you eat those things, the more it gets addicted to it. And before you know it, you're not even thinking now about, salad or French fries. It's just directly French fries. And then as we get sicker, we get, our intestines and arteries get more clogged, we blame everything else. And then we look for symptoms, we look for answers, things that fix those symptoms. Rather, it was the core thing was the choice between salad and French fries, between love and fear. And so we get presented those moments every day. It does not matter what you chose before. It matters what you choose now and what will you do moving forward. Because there's only the present moment. The ego takes all the things in the past. The ego is a problem-seeking identity thing. And then now we're more focused because it's about survival. The ego is about survival. No wonder why human beings live on this planet and we're in survival mode all the time. We're not built for thriving. We're built for like survival. Because the ego is built for survival. Everything the ego has to do is challenge what is, right? Love is, God is. Ego has to challenge that constantly. Because the moment you can sit still and be still, then you recognize, again, God, peace, love. Inside all of us, we know that. The ego has to fight for its survival. And then so we behave that way. We find more problems in things than solutions in things. We are problem-driven thinking. Survival-driven thinking. So today, we are going to continue on chapter 6, section 3, the relinquishment of attack. We've made it pretty far from the beginning of the year. So it's, we're in July. We're almost doing a chapter a month. Some sections have more than 4 chapters, or more than 5-6 chapters. But I want to open up with something from Marianne Williamson just to get us started. And then maybe we'll take a couple shares if something is alive for you right now that you want to share. And then we'll go into the reading of the course. All right. So, flipping this over to day 138 in A Year of Miracles, she says, I find my own self esteem by esteeming God. In exhausting God, I myself am exalted. Oh, in exalting God, I myself am exalted. As I live in service to a higher truth, I am delivered to a higher place. Only in seeking to give praise to God do I find that I am praised. My smaller self is not the light of the world. Rather, it is a spirit within me that lights up the universe. It is a God that all praise is due. It is to God that all praise is due, and for who and what I am in my light-filled place. Dear God, all praise and thanksgiving to the light you are, and the light in me, and which is the light we share. May I identify only with you, that I might know who I truly am. Amen. So this kind of just brings us back to the beginning of this conversation that I had with my friend of, books. I think a lot of books are very interesting. I love books. I've read a lot of books, and I'm listening to books too. But nothing excites me as much as the Course, because the Course, when I'm reading and studying the Course, and obviously this is not the only, okay, so this is just for me, my preference, is it reminds me to look to the world of the kingdom, to the world of love and compassion. That's the only world that exists. And I want more of that in me, because the more I have of that in me, the more I will respond like that. I will remember it. It's like repetition. And when we start to talk about even making more money and, being a better lover and all of these things, right? Yes, great. They are something we need while we are in this world here. We can navigate our feelings and stuff like that. But all of that is still working around the illusions, right? But there are writings and teachings out there that speak about everything you do is bringing you to oneness. Everything you do is to break you out of that, which I like. I like when things are like that. So there is a book called Busting Loose from the Money Game that basically is like an investment, a book about money, which brings it to God. It's a book that brings money and the energies of money to God. There are books that Marianne Williamson writes about love and relationships that isn't about satisfying your partner, but that you two come together and remember God. I'm like, so that, and then there are books out there which are amazing that, shit, what am I thinking right now? Like Never Split the Difference, right? It's a book on the art of negotiations. Great ideas, great books, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like you're just trying to manipulate and negotiate something based on using psychology to get what you want. Even though it's kind of like in the name of for both parties. But it's still like I want to get something out of this. It's great. Like there is a way to use everything. I'm not saying it's bad. Right? But I'm just less interested, for me personally, I'm just less interested in anything that isn't about having me find my spiritual life. My devotion to spirit and to God is top priority. And I think it's because I've been through a lot of pain and been through a lot of sufferings and been through a lot of ups and downs in my life. But I feel like I'm still so blessed. Something's got to be blessing me. Something's got to be blessing all the amazing people that I have in my life. And I'm just so grateful for all of that. And it's not me for sure. I can see people that are walking into my life and that have been huge in where I've gone. How did we even meet? How did this even all happen? Right? Like, we can't just say everything is by chance. Like, so many amazing people have impacted my life in such a way that I'm like, how? And then until the Course, it's like, miracles are natural occurrences. If it's not a happening, if miracles are not happening in your life, something is wrong in your own devotion and what you're paying attention to. Because miracles are literally happening every single moment. If we can just tap into that frequency, allow the energy of love to flow through. And sometimes it looks like heartbreaks. Can we embrace it all without judging it? All right, thoughts? What's alive in any of you guys about anything? Food, love, salads, French fries, burgers, chicken nuggets.
People.
People,
Humans.
humans, dogs.
Oh my God. That's gotta be the toughest one. For me, anyhow.
Tell me more.
But I'm making it happen.
Okay. Awesome.
Once again, you just let it be.
Mm-hmm.
Let it be. You be you, I be me. you know. But all these years of like, yeah, I got you. You know that attitude? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, 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 no. Doesn't get me anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the lesson. When you see this, when you face this difficult person, it's not difficult. You already have an idea in your head that this person is difficult. But it's all those years, that's what they call the blueprint. It's printed in there.
Yeah.
But that's when we get together and remind ourselves, erase all that, just be in the moment, just show your love. And the thing is that, what is love? We really don't know what is love. So we get confused too. I mean, we as humans, as society, with love.
Yeah.
But we're working on it. And thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
I'm not in the camera all the time because I'm doing, like, right now, guess what? I'm doing my veggies. I'm making my meal for the day because I use one big pot,
Choosing love.
What's that?
Choosing love.
Yeah, because he's like, no one is going to do it for me. It's that simple. I get sick or something, or I'm hungry. No, they're not going to feed me what I want. So anyhow,
maybe we have there's
I'm just going through a really good, very optimistic moment. Anyhow,
good. I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that positive energy with us. And one of the things you mentioned was like erase, like all the stuff from the past. That's what the Course says forgiveness is. We have to break the chains of the energetic attachment we have and the judgments that we have to all of our past events so that the present moment may be free, and from this present moment we can declare a future that is free. Right? But what we do is we just take all the past and we stack it up in such a way that, for example, we will judge because, oh my God, yeah, great, I chose salad this time, but you know what? All these past times I didn't choose salad. And we judge that. And I'm only using the salad example, but think about what we do to other people. We project it. Well, yeah, you're good now, but I don't really trust that because all this past time here, you said this and did this. And we trap people in years and years and years of stuff from previous time, right? Think about how much we've changed in the last year ourselves, how far we've come, how much we've grown. How can we possibly trap our parents, our friends, people in a time that is 5, 10, 15 years in the past. Right? Oh, but you're always like this. You're nice now. You must want something. We become so skeptical. We let the ego dominate these thinking. We're choosing French fries in those moments. And it's going to take time, right? But the more you choose salad over French fries, the more you choose love over attack and fear and judgments, the more it becomes easier for you, like Joe was saying. Right? And there's a rebound time. Okay, I chose wrongly now, but you know what? Now I get to choose salad for the fact that I chose fries last time. I get to access love and forgiveness, even though I attacked and I judged and I was not compassionate. All right. Okay. Jill, go ahead and then we'll start the read.
Thank you, Alex, always. I was going to mention about the French fries and the salad
Uh-huh.
that it doesn't matter. French fries or salad actually don't matter. What matters is the judgment about it.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband taught me that because I was a hardcore vegan when I met him, years and years ago. And he was just like, he taught me otherwise. He taught me that it really doesn't matter what you eat.
Mm-mm.
And I know that we have so much invested in it now. And in this day and age, when I was a vegan, there were very few vegans. It was hard to buy vegan food. You had to order it specially on special places. You had to find special places to find it, and all of this stuff. But it taught me otherwise, and I think the judgment part of that is really the part, and I find it all the time within our community that people are extremely judgmental about the food that we eat. And I would say the same thing about cigarettes as well. And I don't even believe cigarettes harm you. I believe what harms you is the judgment about them. And for some people, tobacco is a very healing herb, and it grounds people very much so. And I told you that story last week when someone was saying to me, "Oh my God, I'm so crying on the phone," and then said, "And I have to, and I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette," and she was so judgmental about herself about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's a really big hurdle for, so to speak, conscious people, because yes, it is true, we are in a process of a paradigm shift, and as that shift occurs, the paradigm will shift away from the big agriculture that's pesticiding all our food, and getting that stuff in everything that we eat, and the glyphosate and all of the stuff that is actually harmful. However, if we can keep ourselves out of judgment about all of it and proceed accordingly to try to make those changes in our own life without even judging ourselves about it, because that's where it really becomes harmful, is judging ourselves about what we do in terms of something so basic as eating the food choices that we make, and the drug choices, say, per se, or our herbal choices or whatever. So that's just my take on it after observing this for a long time.
For sure. It is the judgment part, but we're talking about food, but we're really talking about love and fear, right? So, like, I'm using an analogy for that, and yes, the ego can weaponize everything, because the ego will take it to this world, right? Everything we start talking about is things of this world, the food, the cigarettes, anything. But really, what we're doing is we're trying to understand and relate it to choosing love over fear, and so a lot of people, and myself included, when we learn things, and when we're like, oh yeah, this is the thing that's good for us, we begin to weaponize that and judge against others, and yes, perfectly what you're speaking into goes into our reading today, which is the relinquishment of attack. In the manual for teachers in the back, there's a section called the relinquishment of how do we relinquish our judgments, And it's really coming to that place that I don't really freaking know, right? Let's look at this other example. It's coming to me in my mind is we think about the pesticides is bad for us. It's bad. It's evil in the world. One aspect, one way of looking at it, right? Because it's harming our bodies. So we judge it as bad. But how do we know for the collective that that's not a good thing that's happening for us? Right? Because if we zoom out, if you zoom out, or actually, you know what? Zoom in to your blood cells. Okay, the white blood cells are fighting the cancer cells. And on one level, we're like, oh, that's a good thing. We needed the cancer cells to die. The white cells is actually putting pesticides. The cancer cells think that the white cells are putting pesticides into their body and killing them off. Right? And I'm just saying, and then we zoom in because we are only looking from single perspectives and we can make sense of it. That's why it's the letting it be. The moment you let it be, you break free from the right and the wrong and which is good, which is bad. And when you can break free from that, I don't know, maybe you can ingest a whole ton of pesticides and have zero reaction to it. Ram Dass was going around in India and giving all the gurus and master gurus, he was talking to them about LSD and was like, it's the best thing. I go meet, it brings me to God and I feel more enlightened and clear and all of that. Yes. So when he met, oh my God.
He met Neem Karala Baba.
Yes, exactly.
A handful of LSD, and he took the whole thing.
Yeah. So first, Neem Karala Baba is just a guy in the mountains that he met. He's like, why is everybody going over and touching his feet and just start crying and all this? He doesn't get it. He's like the outsider, like the American in India. And so as time went on, Neem Karala Baba would literally say things about what he went through the night before. Oh, you were in the mountains. You were thinking about your wife. Oh, you were this. Exact things. Oh, she died of like ulcer or something in her stomach. Right? He's like, nobody knows this. You were looking at the stars underneath thinking. And he's like, what? So more and more he started to believe. And then one day he's just thinking about what he's been doing, giving LSD to other gurus, right? And them having great experiences. And the moment he came up and he wasn't sure if he was going to ask him this question, he goes, give it to me. Your magic, your miracle pill, your magic, give it to me. Right? And he's like, what? No, the magic that you brought, give it to me. And he had this like special one that was super strong. And like, a third would have been like super strong for somebody. He's like, more. Give me more. And he just took like enough, like I think 1,000 milligrams. And that's enough to like have people lose their shit and probably, never come back. Takes it right there in front of him. And he's just like watching them for the whole day. And Neem Karala Baba literally nothing. Does nothing. There were moments he would even mess with Ram Dass, because he's just so clear. And then, nothing really happened. And he's like, what? And the next day, Neem Karala Baba was like, you don't believe that I actually took it, right? And then so like this whole thing, he's like, your medicine and your magic is great. It's awesome. It gives you a chance to see God. It gives you a chance to visit that place, but you still have to come back. And that's the awakening for Ram Dass. It's like, it's an everyday thing. How do I be devoted to this? This is not a I can just take it here for little bits of moments, find some clarity, and then come back into this world. It supports. But you must find something that has you be devoted to that on a moment-to-moment basis. And some people, it looks like renouncing the world and going to live in the cave for a while. But you know what? You come back out, it's the same game again. Right? So can we live in it and find peace? And so that's what the Course is constantly sharing with us is, here's your opportunity. Your wife, that's your opportunity. This investment, that's your opportunity. The person that cut you off, that's your opportunity. Play that game, right? Look forward to those things. Shift your relationship to the things that you have triggers around, right? Inverted, that is your way back home. So, yeah, I mean, there are so many things that just can't really be explained. And Jessica Brothers is here. She and I were having the conversation about the energies last night, right? Like, energy is always moving, and the only thing you really can do is to allow it to flow through you. Be the conduit. Be a great conduit of the energy. Don't let the energy come in and then try to manipulate and control it and then give it back out. The Holy Spirit's like, dude, I got this. That's why every one of your problems, you just got to give it to me without you trying to purify it first. And the more we can just keep giving it over, the more we become this clear channel, this conduit. Okay. So as I read into the course right now, it's a very short section, but words. Words always fall short. A picture will be painted for you as I read. It could be anything. Just allow the things to come, allow the downloads to come from the words that were written in this book to the words that I speak out of my mouth. And just allow the thoughts to come. Don't get too stuck on words. We don't need to judge the words. They're just words. All right. Yeah. We can enjoy a painting without knowing exactly how it was painted. Or we can see it. We can understand it. Because we will see it with our own lenses. Right? Our own perfect curriculum in our own lives, we will look at all of this with our own lenses. And what's meant for you will be yours. So chapter 6, section 3, the relinquishment of attack. How perfect. All of our conversation has led to this. As we have already emphasized, every idea begins in the mind of the thinker. Therefore, what extends from the mind is still in it. And from what it extends, it knows itself. The word knows is correct here because the Holy Spirit still holds knowledge safe in your mind through his impartial perception. By attacking nothing, he presents no barrier to the communication to God. Therefore, being is never threatened. Your godlike mind can never be defiled. The ego never was and never will be part of it. But through the ego, you can hear and teach and learn what is not true. You have taught yourself to believe that you are not what you are. You cannot teach what you have not learned. And what you teach, you strengthen in yourself because you are sharing it. Every lesson you teach, you are learning. That is why you must teach only one lesson. If you are to be conflict-free yourself, you must learn only from the Holy Spirit and teach only by him. You are only love. But when you deny this, you make what you are something you must learn to remember. You are love. You are only love. But when you deny that you are only love, you make yourself something you must learn to remember. I said before the message of the crucifixion was, teach only love, for that is what you are. This is the one lesson that is perfectly unified, because it is the only lesson that is one. Only by teaching it can you learn it. As you teach, so will you learn. If that is true, and it is true indeed, do not forget what you teach is teaching you. And what you project or extend you believe. The only safety lies in extending the Holy Spirit, because as you see his gentleness in others, your own mind perceives itself as totally harmless. Once it can accept this fully, it sees no need to protect itself. The protection of God then dawns upon it, assuring it that it is perfectly safe forever. The perfectly safe are wholly benign. They bless because they know that they are blessed. Without anxiety, the mind is wholly kind, and because it extends beneficence, it is beneficent. Safety is the complete relinquishment of attack. No compromise is possible in this. Teach attack in any form, and you have learned it, and it will hurt you. Yet this learning is not immortal, and you can unlearn it by not teaching it. So we're talking about attack and judgment, right? And the French fries and judging of the French fries and all of that, right? We can go in layers and layers of stuff, but teach attack in any form and you would have learned it, and it will hurt you. This learning is not immortal. You can unlearn it by not teaching it. Any moment you can just stop. You can choose love anytime. All right. Since you cannot teach, your salvation lies in teaching the exact opposite of everything the ego believes. This is how you will learn the truth that will set you free and will keep you free as others learn it of you. The only way to have peace is to teach peace. By teaching peace, you must learn it yourself, because you cannot teach what you still dissociate. Only thus can you win back the knowledge that you threw away, an idea that you share you must have. It awakens in your mind through the conviction of teaching it. Everything you teach, you are learning. Teach only love, and learn that love is yours, and you are love. Wow. What an amazing chapter. It's so short, to the point. What you teach, you are learning. Teach only love, for everything else and anything else you can possibly teach that is not only love will misguide you. And we got to give it over to the Holy Spirit. Adam, what's up? Where are you going? You going Tampa? You got another rental car?
I'm in Tampa. Yeah, I'm driving this iPad that has tires on.
Nice. Next week, or on Sunday, we may or may not have a call on Sunday. I will figure out at that time. There's a great section called this section's called The Only Answer. I love it. And I think just by reading today's section, we may already have an idea of what that is. Right? And so, what is teaching? That's the question. Right? When are we teaching? Am I only teaching when I'm doing a webinar on A Course in Miracles? Am I only teaching when I have students that paid me to learn? Right? Am I only teaching when I'm in a classroom of kids in school? Is teaching and learning only happening in school? Right? The Course says it's happening all the time. You are literally in a teaching, learning moment every moment of your life. Especially when people are there. You teach by demonstrating your depth of love and compassion. How you respond to situations, you're teaching. You teach by the way you give presents to people. You teach by the way that you acknowledge people. You also teach by the way you judge and attack, by the way you respond to someone, by the way you gossip about somebody, by the way you talk about someone. Something. We are teaching all the time. Every time words come out of our mouth, we are teaching. Every time words don't come out of our mouth, we're also teaching. So remembering that to teach only love, right? And I say this sometimes, that we believe that life is love. We believe that everything is love, but we don't believe that everything is only love, right? We believe there is love. And we talked about earlier the question of what is love. So we're going, what is teaching? And then now, what is love? Love is an energy and a frequency that is of God that we can't even fathom. The closest that we can fathom is a mother's love for her child, right? A father's love for his child. You know, that type of love where you want the happiness of another being over your own. Not from a place of like martyr or victim or whatever, but like truly, you want somebody to win more than you can win. You know, I watched a Shaolin movie yesterday or a couple days ago, and the big brother in there was willing to sacrifice his life for, his brothers, like to protect them. And in the military, they've cultivated also that type of love too. Through like discipline, right? Drilling into your mind that your brothers are no man behind, no man left behind. You're willing to die to have those things happen. That type of love is one that we can, as far almost as we can think. And the Course says that is a matchstick held up to the sun. So think about what we're trying to learn about love. Whatever we can fathom, as far as it goes, it's minuscule compared to that level of love that the Course is talking about. Okay, go ahead, Jill.
So when Marianne Williamson first took the stage at the debates 4 years ago, I felt that what was her presence was all that was required, because just she knows where she stands, but just her being on the world stage talking about fear, about love over fear, changes everybody no matter what. And if you noticed how all of the candidates changed their dialogue slightly to accommodate that. So the Course says somewhere that all that is required is the presence of a teacher of God. And so her being on the world stage is to me incredibly important. I'm a Kennedy supporter, but it's okay. He's doing the same thing. But Marion is definitely there, talking about a cabinet of peace and a variety of other things like that.
I know, right? It's crazy. Imagine her being the president of the United States. I think the whole world would instantly just disappear. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, but how courageous of her to step up into that realm. That level of attack that she also took by standing for love. You guys, I mean, if you followed that, like, she was not allowed to participate in a lot of things. People did not let her have stages. They didn't give her time. They tried to shut her out because she was talking about love. And even in those times, as an amazing teacher as she is of the Course, you can also see her triggered and how she was getting mixed up into the drama, the cycle of attack. The stage was just bigger for her, and that's her curriculum now. She's gone through the parents things, the lover things, the child, the mom traumas and dramas. And she's broken from those, and now she's on a much larger stage where the stakes are so much higher. And where she gets to feel triggered. She gets to be a human being in this meat suit. But she always returns to love. If you guys ever hear and buy any of her books on audio, like, she reads them all, and you can feel the words and you can feel the book, which is awesome. Listening to Enchanted Love right now. Amazing. Ridiculously good book. Okay. Thoughts? Questions? What else? Let's see what I've written down here. So we go into the only answer, and then we go into the lessons of the Holy Spirit, which is phenomenal section. I know I say this about every section, but the lessons of the Holy Spirit, this is really to teach you how to be. You know, I'll just read off, like, it's kind of in like bullet points for each lesson. The first lesson is to have, give all to all. We can stay with that lesson for the rest of our lives, and it will change us. You know? To have, give all to all. What does that mean for my business? What does that mean for my company? What does that mean for money? For love? To have peace, teach peace to learn it. Okay, so we've been talking about that. Be vigilant, only for God and his kingdom. Anything else will distract you. Anything else will have you miscreate. So the lessons, those are the main points of the lessons of the Holy Spirit. And, you know, this section specifically has guided me in the things that I've made in this world. The masterminds that I've created, the real estate deals that I've done. You know, because underneath all of that is the teachings of the Holy Spirit. I am learning. That's why I'm teaching it. I'm committed to learning it. And I make the stages bigger and bigger. Bring more people. My capacity to work with more people, to bring on more partners. To take on more mentees. You know? The whole purpose of the course is to help you find your internal teacher that will be your guru forever. You no longer have to seek. The ego seeks, right? Like, think about a lot of the mentors and teachers that you've had in your life. Right? You feel like at some point you outgrow them. You outgrow their influence and their impact on you. Unless it's on a super spiritual stage. And that's what the Course is saying. Whether it be, you know, Baba or Jesus or Buddha or whoever. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Adam. Whether it be any of them. They're, you know, Egyptian goddesses. You know, Isis. Segment. Like, all of them are the same. They are the teacher. They're your inner teacher. You know, and they're pointing to the divine, which is beyond this world. And if you can find that, it will guide you in all areas of your life. You don't need to turn to a person. You don't need to turn to anything else. Right? Because the ego is like, yeah, keep seeking. Put your salvation in this person. Put your salvation in this thing. Put your salvation in money, in houses, status, power. And you'll find, and you will fall. Because you've put false idols on your altar. The altar that is in your heart, God rests on. We try to put other things on there ourselves. All right, so our goal is really to have the right, wouldn't even say perspective, maybe perspective, on the altar, so that it may be clear for us, that love guides everything that I do. My whole purpose in life is the message of love, is to bring people closer to love. And it may come in different forms. It may come in the form of real estate. It may come in the form of, personal development teaching. It may come in the form of ClickFunnels. It may come in the form of, guiding women through things, men through things. Each one of us has it. Each one of us has a form of teaching love, of that being the message. And so my hope and my prayer here is that we ask ourselves this question more. As I do the do's in my life, what is my message through these things? And if you're connected to that, all the things you do and all the choices and all the decisions become much more clear and clean. And more powerful. And people recognize that all you need to do is operate and show up from your heart space, from a space of love, and people will recognize it. They may not know what it is in the beginning, but everybody knows. And so you need not worry about not having enough, not being enough, when you're operating from that place, because people will come. They will pay top dollars to come see you dance with passion and love and with heart. All right, well, that's my spiel. It's my motivational speech to myself. Thoughts? What's alive in you guys right now? Anybody awake?
I got something, home skillet.
Let's do it. What's up?
Let's do it. There was a little bit of conversation there when I first hopped on, and acknowledged that I came in when I was able to around politics. Who's taking what stage and things like that. Not that it was political in any way, but there was this amazing. Let me rephrase that. There was a video that I saw yesterday around relationships, and there was like an interview. There was a dude who was holding the space on this podcast, and he was interviewing a woman. The guy was a Jewish guy, and he was interviewing this Muslim woman, like modern day Muslim woman, and another woman, Catholic, and they were having conversation around relationships and how in the Western world, he was like pointing to what's important in relationship. If we're in a relationship, they asked the question like, if we're in a relationship like on a level of 1, 2, 3. Let's say we're in a relationship with somebody of a different race, or relationship with somebody of a different political viewpoint, or third, a relationship with someone of a different religious or belief. I would say belief is a better way. They said it religious in the context of the call. And it was really interesting for the response that came from the Western was that we would put the political view first as being most important in the relationship, followed by race, and third by religion. Whereas in other parts of the world and in years past, it would be something different. Like it would be race number one, because back in the 60s, there was 70s, there was like a little bit more emphasis put on that. But what came out of the conversation was that in the Western world, as connection with source, connection with divine, whether that's whatever religion, whatever practice, Course in Miracles, has been less and less practiced in the household, that the political actually takes a front seat to what's important in a relationship, different from what is true to God. And what came out in the conversation, I just felt called to share, was that when an individual is connected with source energy and with religion, like that would be the number one is like, are we aligned that there is a God, Goddess, Baba, Jesus, whatever that might be, and that human beings are essentially hardwired to worship something, food, video games, politics, and so on. And the political climate in the United States, for instance, is so separate in many ways at this point that we're choosing to worship that, and it's influencing relationships and things, all starting from 2020 and these different things. So being on these calls and finding that, you know, centered space within myself and within my connection with source, it's like takes all those distractions of they're doing this, you know, like Joe, you put in there, like the same thing they're doing with Bobby. As a practitioner of the course, saying something like, if I type that's what they're doing, I'm actually kind of like going against what the course is actually saying, that there is no they.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so like this beautiful opportunity, Alex, I just want to acknowledge you and give thanks for your consistency in these calls and bringing the conversation to the table, to hold a container in a time that I feel that it's so needed, when there's podcasts that are getting thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, speaking about how the connection with divine within the self is causing there to be the worshiping of, you know, what's more important, race or politics, in a relationship and in a household, and how that's creating division and divisive ways of being. And I just wanted to give thanks to you for your love, for your putting yourself out there, and for the bigger stages. And for me, like, no matter what you're doing, my experience of you, whether it's real estate or any of it, like God is sitting there in the heart of you and being demonstrated through you, and it creates, like, I don't ever have to talk about what your political views are or anything, because I fucking love you, because you're exuding love.
Oh man, thank
it's
you.
so important. And watching this video yesterday, I'm like, wow, what more confirmation do I need to keep being that sun and holding the matchstick to the sun kind of analogy, you know? So that it just felt true to me as I hopped on here this last couple of minutes, you know, so that I was a reminder to me, don't get lost in all the distractions of the court's rulings and the finances and the Bitcoin and all the things, because what's true and infinite is love.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for that share and the acknowledgement too. You know, and yeah, you are also somebody that constantly brings these things from the world to love and to spirit, and guiding people to do that. So, you know, we're going to continue to do it. And on these calls, really, I'm just I'm just sitting here trying to go through the curriculum myself. So I'm like, yeah, let's do this together. So I have a good time doing it, and I know that as I do this, the world that I begin to see in my mind changes. Right? Like we can look on this world here today with all sorts of different opinions. If we look towards, you know, the pain and the attack and the sufferings, that's what we'll find. If we look towards the peace and the love and the connection to spirit and God, that's what we're going to find too. Like all of that is available for you. You know, here it is. This is the kingdom. You get to choose. All right. And that's why the Course says, be vigilant for the kingdom of God, for the kingdom of love. And don't let that become a jargon for you, right? Like, let that be in curiosity and discovery of what that is, rather than thinking you would have understood any of it, because it just falls short. Whatever you can possibly experience and think, it falls short, because nothing in this world can give you even a resemblance, or not a resemblance, but give you anything close to that, you know, in this world. But that's what we got, you know. So if that's what we got, how do we be here? And we just be here, just laugh at it all. That's the conclusion to it. Jessica and I were sitting there talking. We're like, that's why we can only sit back and laugh at everything. That's why the Buddha laughed at everything. You know, everything's just funny. Because if it's not funny, it's just too serious. And if it's too serious, you make it serious. And if you make it serious, you start taking it and projecting it and gossiping and attacking with it. If it's funny, you laughed about it, then it just comes and it goes. And then the next moment. Yeah, I think a lot of people that are very, you know, spiritual and have found at least a certain level of understanding of themselves, of enlightenment on the way there, there's just a lot of laughter, because anytime I judge, I catch it and it just becomes funny. All right. And that's why a lot of times I'm giggling and laughing at things. I'm not even laughing at what someone else said. I just laughed at my own conversation in my head that just happened, Cool. Awesome share, Adam. Thank you. Anybody else? What else is alive? Anything you've been experiencing this week? So a little bit, I guess we'll just kind of jump into, you don't love when you can laugh, like a belly laugh at yourself. You're a legend in your own mind, Alex. Yes. You're a legend too, in my mind. So, did somebody want to say something? No? Okay. Yes? No? When people hop on video, I get excited, so I'm going to pause.
I seem to talk a lot, but
Me too.
Had a challenging week. I have issues with my family, and I have issues with other people, and I'm just working the course the whole time, like old seated jealousies that are really, sibling rivalry with this inheritance that I'm dealing with right now.
Oh boy.
And it's like one of those things that is like almost shocking. And it's all stuff from the past that's come up, and all I'm doing is practicing the love practice, because it's ugly, actually, in a lot of ways. And it's interesting. And I think what often happens in those cases is what I was also mentioning earlier, is sometimes we don't know why we're put into those situations. And in our own selves, we get to grow, but also perhaps the other people involved are growing as well. So in a way that we may not be aware of, but again, our presence in the situation and how we react to it, or actually not react to it, is probably a teaching tool. And in some cases, it's like it could get the person even madder, and because they were expecting a reaction,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't react. In some cases it looks weak.
Yeah.
It looks like weakness, but it's not a weakness necessarily.
Yeah. You have to, when you make a choice like that, when you stand for love, right, you have to have conviction, right? Over a period, if you chose love right now, and they're not expecting you to choose it in that way, yes, they will get mad, they will attack, they will call for you to actually react differently. That's what they're doing, right? They're like, react the way I'm reacting, like whatever way you're reacting, that's bullshit. And so your conviction and your stand in it has to be infinite in terms of time, right? Know that there's a possibility before your life, it won't be fixed before your body ends, and be okay with that. Right? Yesterday we were talking, Eric, myself, and Jessica. Infinite patience produces immediate results. Sure, attack me right now, but I'm choosing love. That's it. I still have family members from my mom and dad's passing, my dad's passing and my grandmother's passing. Like, they're not talking to each other. They live across the hallway from each other, like literally in an apartment. They live across the hallway from each other, and they haven't talked in years. Like, what? What do you do when you both leave there's only 2 units on that floor? Them and them. What do you do when you guys both gotta use the elevator at the same time? What do you do when you guys return home? And what happens when you guys bump into each other going up the elevator? It's so crazy. The extent that people will go to hold grievances, that we will go to hold grievances, right? That situation, we all got it somewhere. We all have that experience. We all got something in our life that represents that. Whether it's that extreme or not does not matter. It's just see the insanity, laugh at it first, don't take it so seriously, and then demonstrate peace, teach peace, right? Because I went back to the States. I mean, I went back to Taiwan. Everyone's trying to get me on their side. I'm like, yo, have a big dinner, invite them over, and then we'll figure it out from there. Tell both, like, no, 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 no. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. You know? They can't convince me to take a side because I'm so convicted. I'm so convicted. My conviction of love is just there. That's it. It's like you guys either unite or what? Like, that's what I stand for. If I'm coming, let's go. And if you and I want to have dinner, we can just have it, and you can say all the things you want, but I'm not gonna react to it. You know. So, anyways, that was my experience this January going back to Taiwan. And it's been that for years. And the kids are now involved, and the cousins are fighting with each other. I'm like, yo, we are beyond their drama. And that's what I keep saying. You know, I'm like, let's not let their drama affect all of our relationships in this generation. You know, so we kind of like made a pact. But we still have cousins that aren't talking to each other right now. Anyways, go ahead, Jess.
Hey Alex, I just wanted to add to that. We're coming up. I'm coming up now. Next month is my fifth anniversary since I completed the trainings. Thank you, my captain. For so many lessons, and like everybody, went through the gratitude process, it was all about love. I came out of there, walking on air and everything, and there's love and speaking all the truths that I had discovered for myself in the trainings. And it wasn't always well received. It wasn't well received at all, as a matter of fact, because people are just so set in their ways, especially my family. And I guess they all thought it was like a phase. And so I had a lot of, that I got, she's gonna grow out of that, like everything else they thought I was gonna grow out of, which I didn't. And then it took a while, but I noticed now 5 years, that when I'm looking back now 5 years now, I actually see the shift in my family. Even though the hardest ones, like my sister, who was one of my first enrollments and one of my first cancellations, never made it through the process. But I see the shift, I see the difference as I stood in my truth, and they've seen me consistently show up in a certain way all the time, and not react the way I used to react, to dissent and to everything else that I used to react to. I've seen the shift, and slowly but surely it takes a while. But only looking back now, 5 years down the road, at first I was just like ramming it down everybody's throat. And that was not the way of doing it, obviously. And now I see the shift, especially my sister, who was the hardest one. I see her receive all the stuff when I send all the great stuff that that you guys put on there and everything. Brooke, I know you put on a lot of good stuff and everything. All the codes, all my positive codes, everything that I show up consistently from love all the time, and I do not get triggered by the things I used to get triggered. And I see the difference now. I see the difference how my sister responds, how she actually looks to me, when she's feeling desperate, when she's feeling like she needs to get talked down the ledge. I'm the person now that they come to because they're like, at the very least, because I make them feel good, because everything that comes out of me is well, not everything, but most of the things, especially when they come to me and I know that they're suffering, that they're hurting, it's always something, to do with love and peace, and finding that peace. And so it may not happen right away, but when you consistently show up as love, people will start shifting around you. You don't see it very right away, but I've seen it in my nieces and my nephew, with all my family that I at one point I couldn't even talk to because there was just so much animosity there. But now, it's different, and I think this gratitude, and all these rooms, all the people that I surround myself with and everything, that's what's made the difference. And just keep showing up out of love, no matter how other people show up. eventually, that's the way we're gonna create that major shift. That's how we create the 2%. It's just
Yeah.
not beating it down people's throats, just letting them come to their own conclusions.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, there is urgency sometimes, but also like patience. Patience is all going to work out. So, what you're talking about is the gratitude trainings that we went through back in the day when the company was around. It was one of a kind. It really created one of the most amazing communities I've ever seen. I've taken so many things I've learned there to build the things I've built in my life today. Um, and that type of training stems all the way back to Est and LifeSpring and uh, Landmark. All of these trainings that people have created businesses and built communities and families and all of that through a lot of the teachings of these trainings. Like, the world is shifting, and I'll tell you, the greatest, I mean, besides meeting my wife in those trainings, my sister, it was hard to get her into the trainings. It took like 3 or 4 years, for that to happen. And I'm like one of the best enrollers that I know. I can roll everybody into it. And I just could not get my sister to go to the trainings. She thought I was like in some kind of cult and being all crazy. I just had that about me. Now, when she finally went, and I was at some point during the trainings, obviously, I mean, not obvious, but you go through phases where you just let go of any mask and you just are raw and authentic. And I told her, I was like, look, I've been such a shitty big brother and, was not a good big brother when you were younger. I was not a good demonstration. I didn't, like, you didn't feel safe in my presence and all these things that are just authentic, super raw. Shared it with her. Had no intentions of enrolling her into the trainings at this point. Just whatever. I just wanted to share. And she's like, when's the next training? And then she went through it. And then she went through all 3 parts of it. And you know what the crazy magic and miracle of this whole thing is? They were trying to get pregnant for a long time, her and her husband. And they couldn't. It just couldn't do it. It just never happened. In vitro, all that stuff too. And then she went through the trainings. And during the training, she got pregnant. She had a miracle baby, like we call it in gratitude, gratitude baby, and her and I hugged for the first time in our lives. How crazy, and it's been like 7 or 8 years, or 7 years, something like that, since I went through the trainings. Jill actually was like a senior of mine she was coaching me going through the trainings, and she saw because going through that, it's like an incubator, it's a big pressure cooker. All of my craziness also came out in there. Perfect people on your team that triggers you. I mean, I literally almost bought a flight to fly down to Florida to fight somebody on my team. I mean, thinking about it now, I'm like, yo, how insane was I? I was home in New Jersey, flipping out, punching the walls, and buying a flight to fly down to Florida to fight somebody. I mean, is that the most insane thing ever? And then also to come from me right now, like now that I think about it, I'm like, what? Who was I? Like why was there so much conflict? But here's the thing, the whole world has that. We live in the world that has pent up like energies that are coming out sideways. So we don't know where the outlet is. And but if you look at the transformations, just if I look at the transformation of myself, I'm like, how can I judge anything in the world? I went from like a psychotic person to teaching A Course in Miracles. Hilarious. But yeah, everybody's going to get there, and then 6 years from now, I'm going to look back and be like, oh my God, what the heck was I talking about on A Course in Miracles? I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah. Anyways, that's the gratitude trainings are a huge part. Now, October 22nd to the 24th, and this will be the last thing I'm going to share, is I'm throwing a live event. It's going to be like Grant Cardone meet Tony Robbins. We have some trainers coming in. It's going to be gratitude training-esque. You know, you will learn about real estate, investments, money, things like that. But there's also a huge aspect of personal development that will be an experiential training. And I've brought some amazing people into that space. So I'm really excited for it. We haven't put out the dates, but I wanted to share with you guys first. Anybody that hears this, you know, October 22nd to the 24th in Vegas. If you want, plan to stay for the whole week, because we'll have other excursions and events that we'll be doing during that week. With like mastermind members, VIP members, things like that. But yeah, super cool. Legends Con. It's gonna be our first annual Legends Impact Conference. I threw a Legends Impact virtual summit last year. I had lots of transformational trainers and Joe Engelson, who founded Gratitude Training. Like, all of that is on our online portal as well. You can see the replays of my interviews and things like that with them. But like 465 people showed up to that virtual event. Insane. And they stayed in, it was one day, and they stayed an average of like 4.5 hours. I was like, wow, people stayed on a virtual event for that long. Average, right? 465 people. That was crazy cool. So hopefully we do that again in the live. Okay, I think we're going to have like 250 plus people. All right. Well, I wanted to share that, and really excited, really excited. That's it. That's all, folks. Have a fantastic Wednesday. You know, I hope you continue to choose salads. Continues to choose love. I'm going to make sure that when I go upstairs right now, I'm going to eat another bag of salad. All right. Committed. Next meal, salad. Healthy choice over French fries. All right. That's all we need to do. After the Course in Miracles calls, just do one. All right. Much love to everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I'll see you hopefully on Sunday. God willing. Bye, everyone. Babsky.
Babsky. Okay, now you're ready to finish what you started.
It's gonna eat a salad.
Wait, cameras?
Huh?
Cameras and audio off?
No.
What do you mean?
Did you go take a shower and everything already?
What? Who needs it?
Huh?
I took it all yesterday. We just need to shave.
Okay, do that. Go do all that.
What do you mean, come on? You come on.